Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Caroline with Microsoft, and you're here with one of our live Change Need Makers podcast. I'm just excited. Why? Because I'm here with a bunch of folks from Microsoft Digital, formerly known as Microsoft IT, which is where I started at Microsoft. And I really consider these people to be like the superheroes of our environment and of the work that we're all doing right now, because there's so much intensity in the space, so many different services, AI, so many threat vectors that we have to be paying attention to. So I wanted to bring everybody together so we could have a chat about that. Welcome. If you have questions, you'll be able to put them in the chat below. We'll make sure to circle back. There's so much great content that Microsoft Digital creates. I want you to know about it at the top. It's called Inside Track, and that's their blog. You can usually find it from my site, adoption.microsoft.com. We use and link to a ton of their stuff. But we'll talk about that a little bit more. But make sure you're tracking Inside Track, because they have so many articles on how Microsoft actually does this work. And with that, welcome. Thank you for coming to my fun little setup here. We appreciate you. We appreciate you. David, I'm going to start with you, because you and I have now known each other for almost, I want to say 14 years. My first job in what'd you say?
Move to cloud.
Move to cloud. That's right. And my first job was over in IT. And David Johnson, just so everyone is clear, is the person who knows the most about Microsoft 365 administration and governance that I have ever met in my life in the world. And I am not really kidding, actually, because he also has the hardest job, because he's governing the Microsoft environment. 200,000 employees, 700,000 in more guests. I mean, every new feature that we want to pop out has to have David's approval, as well as a large team of folks who look at that sort of stuff. How do you feel about your job now, David?
It's intense to that point. I think IT's role is all the more critical now, but it's just an exciting time when you think about it, because we're a massive enabler. And I think that's the key theme to me, is help get out of your employees' way, but that means understanding the implications, managing the hygiene of your data estate. We're using our tools to protect yourself, to watch what's going on, but at the same time, we want employees to be able to use CoPilot and build agents and personal agents and team agents. We believe very strongly that is our future, and it makes it more interesting for IT to keep up, but it absolutely is an exciting time.
Absolutely. And your positive energy on that, I think, is really refreshing. I certainly meet a lot of IT people who seem a little bit tired. Maybe it's just me. I'm tired. Sorry. I'm just projecting on everyone because I don't get a lot of sleep lately. But, health and wellness is an important thing. But, there's a lot of people in IT with a lot of different roles. Share with us what both of you are doing now as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks so much. So I'm Sam Albert. I'm a PM. Work closely with David and the folks at the table. Roy and I are colleagues here. We work in the meeting room space. So we do a lot of work around enabling our collaboration spaces, bringing the best of CoPilot. Roy and I would love to talk about how we're keeping our spaces secure, bringing AI into our spaces, and being efficient about how we work as well.
Oh, so what I just heard is you're volunteering to come back and do another segment. That's what I heard.
Roy and I sorry, Roy, go ahead.
We're always happy to talk about what we do. We get the joy of working in our AV Hive.
Yes.
Every single day.
Oh, that
is magical place.
Yeah.
You
Tell
guys
folks who
pioneered
don't.
stuff, right?
They did. Tell folks what that. Yeah. People don't understand. One of the advantages of being here at Microsoft, that I think some folks understand, but some folks may not, is that we do get to innovate with these new services. Some new service comes into your world, or it comes into my world, and now I get to innovate. How do I roll it out to people? How do I help people adopt it? How do I talk about this to IT professionals? But you're doing a lot more than that. And tell folks what the Hive is really about.
The Hive is our AV lab at Microsoft, and we have the beauty of being able to see our AV program from start to finish, right from all those team certified devices that we have in the marketplace. They are all part of the certification process happens in the Hive. We build out all of our global AV standards in the Hive. We plan out our deployment strategy in the Hive. We basically get a chance to bring the latest Teams technology into our conference rooms, which really fires up CoPilot.
Yes.
Copilot to get into the room.
Yes, it does. Right, exactly. That is so fantastic. And then I know you and I, we're actually going to be speaking together in a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, we talk a lot about adoption. And you've also, the team that does adoption inside Microsoft has directly impacted products like Viva Amplify, the kits that my team releases for rolling out CoPilot and what have you, have content from what the internal team has done. What's it been like for you working on this?
So it's been quite a ride, I'll say that much. I mean, I've been leading our customer zero efforts for M365 Copilot for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And it literally felt like we were building the plane while we were flying it, right? The second that we got our hands on the preliminary product before it was made generally available, we had to learn what this thing was, what it could do, what it couldn't do, how we were going to think about educating our users, what were the bugs that we needed to collaborate with the product group in resolving. It's just been a flurry of activity for the last 2 years. And moments like this where I get to look back on everything that we've done is just outstanding. It's mind-blowing to think of the journey we've been on. We have over 330,000 people at Microsoft.
That's
who
the
are
new
on-
number.
Who are on the platform. That's between FTEs and vendors globally.
Gotcha.
And that community has really enabled us to not only deploy the technology, but also to test the technology and to give us feedback on what's working, what isn't working, what's on their wish list, what are cultural nuances, linguistic nuances, legal nuances that we should consider as we further develop the product. So it's been fun. I've learned so much.
Yeah, I think that, and you have such lovely positive energy. I really am tired because all I can think of is the long list of stuff that's going on.
Had a very
But-
large coffee. Sitting
Okay, there you go. But no, but I think what's really important is I am very AI positive in terms of what it's going to do for our businesses and what it can do for people's careers. It reminds me of, move to cloud, as David mentioned, but on steroids in a sense, because it's so much faster and so much more intense. And also I feel like I have to pivot a lot more. I think when we moved to cloud, I already understood server architecture and things of that nature. We've been building that kind of stuff for a really long time. So it wasn't really that hard for me to imagine it in the cloud in some data center someplace. For me, AI is a completely different thing. It makes me rethink my actual work. And that leads me to maybe a question for you, David. How are you thinking about AI in terms of your job as a leader in IT? Like what's coming next in the features? What do you wish we'd build for you that would make your job easier? Or do you already have it?
Well, no, I think there's a lot there. I mean, first of all, as an IT professional, one of the things you think about is if I'm going to now empower my employees to do something, to your point, if I'm going to help reimagine experiences, I have to have confidence in the data state that AI is going to reason over. I have to have confidence that how am I going to manage all these things employees are going to be able to do with this stuff. That to me are fundamentals, and our tech with Purview, for example, is rolling out a whole bunch of good capabilities that we're building on. Right. SharePoint Advanced Management, totally leveraging that, and going all beyond so we can make sure we can actually govern all this stuff. But I think the key thing is, as we think about from an IT vantage point, going to cloud was re-envision SharePoint because it wasn't just lift and shift from prem to cloud, right?
Right.
And I'd say now it's re-envision the experiences in an agentic way, re-envision how our employees are going to work. And it's a totally reimagined thing. And one of our big themes is, of course, how do you reimagine with continuous improvement our process flows in AI? And so two combined are where we're kind of investing a lot as IT of going, how do I reimagine how I'm handling these things, which we clearly cannot scale with anymore, with AI helping us?
Absolutely. And for everyone listening, and if you happen to be watching this, if you're listening, agentic. Agentic is the bonus word of the day, used in a sentence in a fantastic, because you notice he said agentic, he didn't say the word Copilot. So that's a double bonus move in our new language that we have here at Microsoft. But the point that you're making is super valid in the way that we have to think about these agents as part of our digital teams. I tend to also think about, though, the human experience. So, of course, we all went through COVID together. Before I worked in Microsoft 365 all up, I worked in Teams engineering, and of course, my heart is there and in SharePoint. But the hybrid experience, the hybrid meeting experience, the art of being together, of decision making, of collaborating, of having conversation like this. We could do this podcast itself digitally, but there's something special about the fact that we're actually physically in the same space around a table. So I like to help people understand, the agentic world and digital facilitators and other tools, you both must have a real perspective on what's important about the meeting experience and what's important about that hybrid meeting experience in particular. What are you seeing now that we are bringing things like facilitator in and more?
Yeah, I'll start, Roy, and then I'd love for you to jump in. To your point, when we're experiencing in person, right, there's an energy. We see that shift towards people coming back to the office because of these types of experiences, and it's really that driving force. And we want to enable we want to enable great AI-driven experiences in our conference rooms. That's a space where we're naturally coming together, we're collaborating. And part of that journey is a lot of our platform at Microsoft in our conference rooms are built on the Teams Rooms platform.
Right.
So a lot of our challenge is how do we enable as many of our spaces? We've got over 14,000 rooms at Microsoft. We've got over 17,000 Teams-enabled devices across our connected to our Zero Trust network within Microsoft. And one of our biggest challenges, that's a massive portfolio. That's an expensive portfolio.
Yep.
And we have a lot of efforts around, we drive experience. We want to bring the best of AI, bring the best of Teams, facilitator, intelligent experiences, intelligent voice, making sure we have the right AV devices that can enable that, but then also doing it efficiently. And I think that's something that it's been a priority for Roy and I within the Hive.
Yeah, one of my roles in Microsoft is to plan out our lifecycle refresh. The plan that we have to refresh all our conference rooms globally.
Okay.
And Sam has said already we have 14,000 conference rooms. That is a big portfolio of conference rooms.
Yes, it is.
Trying to keep our rooms up to date is an important thing for Microsoft. So one of the things that we've focused on is looking for efficiencies and productivity wins in terms of how we actually design our meeting rooms. So one of the things we built over the last 18 months is Express Install, which is a simplified version of our Teams rooms, which are quicker to install and reduce the total cost of ownership of conference rooms because they're less complex rooms, they're easier to support, and they're quicker and faster to install.
That's fantastic. And this is another thing that for anyone listening, I really want you to understand. I don't think that Microsoft IT or Microsoft Digital today or ever has gotten enough credit for the product improvement that comes from that division. You are the ones at scale who have to implement and manage our services. And you are the first to tell us what about it could use improvement. And you're very lovely about it. You're very nice about it, but seriously, we could improve some things, especially because, and this is probably where my team comes in. A lot of people at Microsoft, they go deep on one thing. I'm a Teams room expert. I'm a collaboration expert. I know SharePoint sites like one thing. But when you have to go broadly across all of them and the stack, it's a different thing. And I'm bringing this question to you in a second, but I really want to land this with the audience, though, is that when you talk about that innovation of improving the install experience of Teams rooms or, the processes that you will envision when it comes to triage and management of new services or collaboration experiences, this stuff makes its way in product. And so, when things come out, luckily, and I will be honest, never the first revision of one of our services has the IT influence. It's usually after you've told us, oh, could you please fix it? And 100 other customers have too, right? And so I just think that people need to understand that, IT has a big influence on how we build these services, and everything that you're doing is so important to them being really manageable at scale and still be able to work for a small business, right? Because we do small business now and public sector and all of these things, but greater footprint than probably any other tech company in the world. How does this conversation and this also apply to user enablement?
So before I get to user enablement, I did want to touch upon something that these gentlemen do, and we were talking about it before we started recording, which was their work really demonstrates to customers the art of the possible as well. And I was telling
Love that
the
phrase.
guys about, we have a brand new office, Microsoft Canadian headquarter based out of Toronto. It's maybe 2 years old now. They have never seen it physically in person, but their fingerprints are literally all over the building. And I've given hundreds of tours to customers of that facility, and the volume of questions we get and the passion that we see from our customers with regards to, how did you do this? Where did you get that? Oh my gosh, I never thought about configuring a room this way or bringing in this tech for that. It genuinely is a jaw-dropping moment when you bring a customer in and show the work that the team does.
Well, this sounds like I need to bring a film crew to Toronto. I hear field trip. All I heard was blah, blah, field trip. Blah, blah, film this. Blah, blah, promo.
Happy to host it, absolutely. As it relates to user enablement, look, we're looking to push the bar on how we engage with people at Microsoft every day. People are based out of over 100 countries. And we not only do it to the benefit of our own employees, but to customers as well. In large part, thanks to you in promoting our assets and promoting the stuff that we produce. But user enablement really comes down to bringing about information in a way that's going to be applicable and consumable by the greatest amount of individuals as possible. Everyone has their own way of consuming information, of absorbing change, and that applies to Microsoft employees as well. Even as it relates to something like CoPilot. Different people are on a different part of the learning curve or the change curve, and that's fine. And we'll meet them wherever in order to help them be successful in their role. So we're moving away from being very generic in terms of these are the bells and whistles of CoPilot to this is how CoPilot can help you in your role, and people are loving that.
I love that you're doing that, and it's such a large scale because you're really talking. I call that helping people get to the aha moment and embracing different learning modalities. And that is, there is an art to that. If you study curriculum design or even theater for that matter, some people like flashing lights and some people don't. Some people are visual, auditory. I'm a tactile learner. I have to put my hands on the keyboard and actually build something for me to really understand how it works. Everybody's different. And being inclusive in that way to the diversity of styles around people who are learning differently, so important. And I think that that's also a part of our responsible AI principles. I like to take those AI principles kind of in the spirit, beyond the letter of it, right? Which is to be inclusive in the way that we help people understand our products. So I wanna ask a final question because I know we're gonna wrap up on time here really quickly. Yes, and first off, you're all booked again, just so you know.
In Toronto.
In Toronto.
Exactly.
It's
In Toronto.
The thaw is starting where it's beautiful.
Well, one of the good things is, one of the positive things that came out of the pandemic is this rise in our internal use of this technology. Yes, we can be here and we have this opportunity to be together, but my studio is digital, so I can bring you on anytime, right? And I have a control center at home. I will not be returning to the office. Except for key engagements, because I like my coffee and I like my control panel because I can do these things. We can produce a lot of engaging content that way. But what I want to ask all of you is, if you had one thing in the next, call it 90 days, that you're really excited about, that you're really like personally, professionally, it doesn't have to be Microsoft product related or what have you, but kind of, what are you really excited about given how this technology shift is impacting all of our careers? Let me start back with you, Stefan.
So 90 days, I'll talk about the next 90 minutes, basically, or 90 hours. Let me go there.
Okay.
We're launching an experience within Microsoft called the CoPilot Expo, which is essentially a large celebration of everything to do with CoPilot for the entirety of the company. We have people like Jared who've provided us with some material for the experience, and it's an opportunity for everyone to really learn, appreciate, and embrace how CoPilot could be of benefit to them, right? So we're just doubling down on, we talked about user enablement. This is a large group way in which to do that, with a lot of best practices that we've picked up over the last 2 years in deploying CoPilot. For example, gamification. a lot of our strongest adopters of CoPilot are actually in Asia. And the recipe, a key ingredient to the recipe of their success was gamification. So we thought, why not do this for the entirety of the company, where people can have fun, learn, provide feedback on the product, all while, getting a kick out of it. It doesn't need to feel like work. And my team has worked super hard on this, and it's going live today and going through the end of the month. So I'm really excited about it.
That is fantastic. And, people have talked about gamification a lot over time. And here's a newsflash. If you love doing that, great. If you don't, just don't. Right? If that doesn't work and for instance, I've done several projects for military or military defense contractors. I don't use gamification as my mode there. I use different things. It's different terms. It's different ways. They're really big on the hackathon model, right? Or you can do that around promptathons and what have you, because there's a little element of competition, but it seems more like you're building something. So matching the work to the environment that you're in, I think, is really important, whether it's production or that's just fantastic. I'll love to learn more about that when I read your internal release. That'll be spectacular.
We can talk about it more on stage tomorrow.
Okay, that's right. That's right. We can. Excellent. Let me go to the two of you, Roy and Sam.
One of the areas that I'm excited about over the next 90 days is we're putting a lot of focus on continuous improvement and AI, because both sort of unlock each other. And we're bringing that power to how we actually look at our product managers and what they do day to day, how they can be more efficient and more productive in terms of the way they use CoPilot and all the agentic tools to be more better, more efficient, and better at what they do.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
I'm also a part of that same workflow, so I won't steal your answer, Roy. I'll come up with my own. But this is over the next 90 days, we're coming up with
That's how that works.
Over the next
right?
with a counterclockwise. Over the next 90 days, we're hitting the end of our fiscal year. This has been an incredible year for our lifecycle refresh program at Microsoft. We have touched over 5,000 conference rooms over the past year, and we're coming up to that finish line. So that falls within my 90-day bucket. That's a big win.
Yes.
This is also, just on a personal note, I joined Microsoft Digital in 2019. I've been at Microsoft for what feels like forever, but joined MSD. This is my first traveling event that I got to join.
Really?
So this is my first conference. I'm super excited to be here.
Welcome.
And I've got InfoComm coming up within next month. So that energy, it's been super awesome to meet people in person and just kind of
really is.
What's happening, yeah.
It really is. I love the return to in-person events. I like the scale and the reach that digital events gives me. That's awesome. But I really love being with people in a room talking about this stuff. And there is something special about it. So I understand why people are going back and being together. And certainly we at Microsoft do that quite a bit. There's a lot of groups. Some of them have returned to the office, others haven't. But being together is special. Community matters, right? Especially in times of change and uncertainty. And I do think that people feel like there's a bit of uncertainty out there in the world for a variety of reasons. But here in technology and at Microsoft, we can come together and really focus on something positive, growing our careers, expanding our talents, helping our companies, helping customers. And it's one of the reasons I love it so much. And the fact that I've got to work with David, you for such a long time, is really a big part of that. And you're laughing and I'm serious. Like, you really are one of my heroes. And I so appreciate the precision that you bring to the table when you think about issues. Like, I can almost see the three-dimensional model in your head of the threat analysis and cost-benefit ratio, and you really helped me to really raise my game. I use that skill every day over in engineering and the work I do now, so I'm a super fan. So I'm fangirling. But what I want you to do is tell me. I don't get to see you very often. I'm in person. I can tell you these things in person. Tell me what you're excited about in the next 90 days.
Well, there's so much. It's a hard part. I've been trying to figure this out. I think, one, there's so many really cool things coming in the information protection space. Managing a data set is so important, and I'm really excited about what we're doing there, what SharePoint and our partner teams are delivering on top of that. I'm also, though, really excited more immediately on what we're doing in the agent space and personal agents. Because one of the things that we're going to light up in a pretty aggressive way is every employee can build all the personal agents you want to do your job against everything you pretty much have access to. We've edited this, we've confirmed what damage can employees do, to your point, whatever risk benefit analysis, all that stuff, we've done that. And now we're opening this up to say, look, employee, you want to reason over your calendar and documents and find new information that's going to come in and do something based on that. That's really cool when you think about the potential for employees to have a custom, almost personalized needs met by agents and CoPilot. That to me is a next big window of innovation. And can you imagine not just sharing prompts, but going, here's how to, if it's a quick agent that you can go do that can help you too as a personal agent, sharing agent patterns, I think with people will be a big deal next up.
Absolutely. Like really thinking about how our work is really going to change over the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months. That's why I'm so positive about this, because I also very much believe that humans bring something very, very special to the table that cannot be replaced by technology. And I think that it's a little bit of an existential crisis. We have to really know our worth, right? When I look around this table, I see really valuable wisdom and experience and the ability to communicate to different audiences in different ways. Of course, AI is going to come a long way and help us, but we have the opportunity to really make those connections in that community. And I know you are perfect examples of the makers that change needs, which is a fantastic way to wrap this first episode of our podcast. Thank you for listening. We appreciate you. As you know, we will have more of these episodes on the Microsoft Tech community. You can join us on the tech community. Make sure to log in so that you can subscribe to the community news desk. And we will also be sharing many of the articles that my guests today talked about, as well as our follow-up schedule. So we're coming to you live from Las Vegas, but this Change Need Makers series will continue on. So thanks for joining us, and you all have a great day out there. See you soon.